Alright, so we'll move on to warrior. Oh, look. Casual champ farming. This is Guild Wars 2 endgame right here, guys. This is how you farm. Make serious money. Bam, look at that, I'm rich. Okay, so warrior. If you guys have seen my warrior guide on YouTube, I put that up 2 days ago, or maybe it was yesterday. I don't remember. Time is going by. So I'm gonna not go into super big depth like I did in the guide, but I'll start with just the general traits. The first build is Empower Allies. Talk about the gear. It is Berserker and Scholar. Berserker weapons. You're gonna go Axe. It'll be an axe with a 10% sigil, a sword with a force, and a mace with a force. Alright. We're gonna go 20 into strength. We're going to take Axe Mastery there, and dual wielding for a 5% boost, and 150 ferocity, so 10% crit damage. We're gonna go to 30 for dual wield agility. It's basically a 10% DPS boost when wielding a sword or mace in your offhand, which you'll always have. We're going to take Rending Strikes for the Vuln on crit. And we're going to take Deep Strike for the additional chance from Signets. Some other noteworthy traits in here. Reckless Dodge. When you dodge, it does damage. It's not a huge amount of damage, but it's like an auto attack. It helps keep your DPS up. So always dodge into bosses if possible. Building momentum. Burst skills restore endurance. They nerfed the hell out of this trait in this patch. It's kind of a bummer. It used to be you could eviscerate and get a full dodge back. It would a full half of your endurance bar back by eviscerating in combat, and now you get like 1/2 of a dodge back. So it is really nerfed pretty hard. Precise strikes. Chance to cause bleeding on critical hits. These little bleeds add up to a little bit of non-significant damage or non-insignificant damage. Critical burst. In this build, this actually matters because this build does not use 30 in strength, so you actually will be using your eviscerate, and the extra 10% chance to crit with your burst is good. And then, obviously, Attack of Opportunity is awesome. As everyone knows, 10% damage to bleeding foes. In a dungeon, every boss is always going to be bleeding. It's pretty much a given. So our last 4 points we spend in Tactics. We take Empowered for a % damage increase for every boon on you. Always a good DPS increase. You can forget these two traits. These minor traits, they are just terrible. Pretend they don't exist. And then take Empower Allies. Everyone in your party will gain 150 power. This is super good. This is why you take this trait setup. This will increase the DPS of your entire party by everyone in your party by about 5%. This is a pretty huge boost. It, in my opinion, is worth giving up a little bit of your DPS by not going all 6 into strength in order to get this. Your whole party will do significant would do significantly more damage. So next, the way that this build works, I kind of went over the DPS in the DPS rotations, but you want to make sure you're maximizing your vuln as much as possible and doing your impale and rip. The key also is to not interrupt your auto attacks, so you have to be mindful of your cooldowns, mindful of your weapon swap cooldowns, and mindful of where you are in your auto attack chain. Additionally, with the Empowered Allies build, you can eviscerate for DPS increase. There's no penalty in this build for eviscerating. You should do it when you're fighting bosses as soon as you are full of adrenaline and your auto attack is off cooldown. Or off of the rotation so you don't interrupt it. But I would recommend practicing with this. I mean, people said that the axe build is boring. All you do is press 1. It's not really the truth. I honestly feel that the rotation is more challenging than the Greatsword. You have more cooldowns to manage. You have a much more finicky auto attack chain to manage, and you have a burst skill to manage. So there's a lot of cooldowns to manage, and it will take time for people to get used to playing with this and getting good at managing all the cooldowns and having efficient DPS rotation. So let's say you are the second warrior in your party. You don't need 2 warriors with Empower Allies because they do not stack. So I would then go take 2 away from tactics, go 2 into strength, and then take Berserker's Power. This is the max DPS boost build. This build, with all things being equal, is the highest DPS warrior build in the game. Same weapons, same everything, you just switch the traits around a lot. This build will do more DPS than any warrior build in the game, hands down. But it is precipitated on having a group because you don't have what people used to use in the past, Forceful Greatsword, because you're not using a Greatsword. You need to get might from your party. You need an Ellie to help you with might, or an NG, or anyone with a Fire Field and Blast finishers. You just honestly need to get might help. This build can only make 8 stacks of might on its own, so you need the rest of the might to come from someone else. But when all things are equal, in a full group with all the buffs and everything considered, this is the highest damage build that you can get in the game. And see, when you have your full buffs, you have 98% chance to crit. You have almost 3,000 power. When you have your Bloodlust stacks, you'll be above 3,000 power. There's, well, actually, you'll be just above 3,000 power because you won't have Signet of Might, because hopefully ANET will patch their game and fix it so that this trait doesn't also give you 180 power, which it currently does. Good game, ANET. That's one thing I didn't want to mention because it was a bug, but I've noticed it now and it's bugging me. Deep Strike. Just move it to Crackshot for a second. When you equip Deep Strike, you get the Signet of Might. So you are getting an extra 180 power. This is a bug. They blew it. So hopefully they patch that and fix it, because right now warriors are getting an OP benefit by having a free 180 power from this trait. Incidentally, until they patch it, Deep Strike, giving you 180 power and about 120 precision, is the single most powerful trait in the game. Deep Strike is the most powerful trait in the game for DPS, because it gives you, what is it, 6% chance to crit and 180 power. It's kind of ridiculous. So, hopefully they patch it, because it's broken right now. Alright, so the third warrior build. This is like a build, you will recognize it. It is with strength runes instead of scholar, and it is axe, mace, greatsword. Most people are. This was the old meta build. This is the build that I would use if I was doing like if I wanted to solo a dungeon, I would use this build. This build will give you the most versatility. It has the most self-buffing capability. With the strength runes, you get ridiculous amount of might uptime. Strength runes comboed with forceful greatsword give you tons of might, and you are going to be sitting, especially for longer boss fights. Like I've seen people soloing Lupicus with this build using strength runes, and they are sitting at 25 stacks of might. 25 might all by yourself, one character. Pretty darn good. Where this build loses out is in a group. The awesomeness of this build is what the Rune of Strength does for you for stacking might. Well, if you have an Ellie in your party, and the Ellie's putting might stacks on you, and you have other people blasting it, and you're dropping your banner into the blast field, and you're using your Signet of Rage, and you're using it for Great Justice, you don't need all this might. It's complete overkill. The build doesn't really require... the group dynamics mean that all the might you're generating with this build is kind of wasted, and you should be using the 30-30 build. But for soloing content, if you're soloing a dungeon, this is absolutely the build to run. Additionally, I would say if you're in a bad pug, and I mean like people that are using clerics guardians with staffs, or rangers with longbows and bears, or engineers with pistols that don't use kits, or any of that. Just like truly bad players that you have to carry. This is a build that you can carry people with, because you can pretty much be sure when you're running with super bad players that you're not going to get any buffs from them. So you'll have to look out for yourself. And in that case, definitely this build would probably be better than the axe build, because if you have to look out for yourself, you can do better overall. However, if you have guildmates that you can rely on to not screw up, you should definitely be running the pure axe build. It'll just do... So, one thing I didn't mention about Warrior, I did mention it in my video, but it needs to be about, is the banner situation. Banners are what makes Warriors worth taking in a party, besides power allies. Banner of Strength, 170 power for your whole party is a humongous buff. It's like 5 or 6%. It is no joke. Banner of Discipline, 170 precision and 170 ferocity. So that works out to I think, what is it, 8% chance to crit and 11 crit damage. Taken together, these two banners are buffing everyone in the party by, I'd say combined, about 15 to 20%, maybe even a little bit more. That's a pretty huge increase if you think about it. 15% from just two utilities, the entire party. If you are the only warrior in your party, your job is to bring both banners. Simple as that. Once you have banners covered, if you have another warrior, you can switch to Signet of Fury. It's the next best thing to run for the crit chance. I would say you could use Signet of Might, but you don't need it since you have broken traits that give you all the might you could possibly need. For Great Justice, will give Fury and Might to your party. It's quite good. Have other people in your party contributing Fury and Might, but for Great Justice is just a great skill. Other utilities, Endure Pain. There's sometimes to use Endure Pain. I see a lot of people just keep Endure Pain on their bar. Honestly, here's the thing about Endure Pain. It only lasts 4 seconds. It's not like you can just maintain it. So you have to kind of know it's coming, right? Let's say you have Endure Pain on your bar. You know that a boss is about to smash you. He's about to do his huge, big wind-up attack that you can't really avoid, right? Well, if you're going to click your Endure Pain to use it to absorb the boss attack, why can't you just dodge? If you know the boss's attack is about to hit you, just dodge. Or use your sword block. Using Endure Pain preemptively means that you either wasted dodges or you're just not using your dodge. You're just way better off dodging than using Endure Pain. Sometimes when I would use Endure Pain would be like the Dredge Fractal when I'm standing on the thing and I can't die, so the cage is open. Okay, fair enough. Balance Stance I use during certain trash runs. Frenzy, if a fight is especially short, and I mean a fight that's like 15 seconds or less, like a super quick melt the boss, Frenzy is a pretty big DPS increase, especially with the Axe build. I would consider taking Frenzy. The other banners, Tactics and Defense, are kind of crap. You don't really need those. Shake It Off. In an organized group, you don't need Shake It Off. You'll have enough condition removal from Mesmer or Guardian, or even sometimes Ellie in a pinch, that you don't need, but it is a choice that's out there. On my mark, I don't really use it in PvE. It's very good in... well, there are 2 times to use it. You would want to try On My Mark for short fights. The same type of fights where Frenzy's good. On My Mark is also good. It's super quick, Vuln Burst, burst the boss down. It's a DPS boost there. Fear Me, Fear Me PvE. It's good for getting bosses up against a wall. I have a COE video somewhere on my channel where I use Fear Me to push Subject Alpha into a wall. I think it's pretty good. Signet of Might, super good. Signet of Fury, super good. Signet of Stamina, it gives you faster endurance regeneration and it cures all conditions. I think overall, if you are learning the class and learning full Berserker, if you're new to Warrior and you aren't confident in your ability to dodge, I think you are better off with Signet of Stamina than you are with Endure Pain, because Signet of Stamina will give you extra dodges, so it moves you in the right direction in teaching you to dodge rather than teaching you to eat attacks like Endure Pain does. Signet of Stamina will let you do the right thing, whereas Endure Pain teaches you the wrong thing. Signet of Stamina teaches you the right thing and is a condition cure. Sounds pretty good. Duliac Signet. Balance Stance is on a shorter cooldown. Simple as that. Duliac Signet, I don't think the passive is very good. For the most part, you're going to want Balance Stance. It gives you swiftness additionally, so it's also really good. You mostly use these stability skills for trash fights and particular instances, but my recommendation is to take Balance Stance over Duliac Signet. Kick, it's pretty bad. Stomp, also pretty bad. Bolas has 1 use in PvE, which gives it exactly 1 use more than it has in PvP. In Arapath 1, we use Bolas for particular boss to CC him. Bolus Charge, it's good for trash runs. It lets you skip past mobs really fast. There's times when that's beneficial. For the most part, it's a skill. So elite skills, the default elite skill is usually Signet of Rage. Signet of Rage gives you huge amounts of fury, a lot of might, and swiftness. It is pretty good overall. However, in Fractals, I will always run Battle Standard because in Fractals, some of those bosses hit really hard and people go down. Even in a good organized group, of skilled players, people will still go down randomly, sometimes to Mossman, Arch Diviner, or the Dredge Power Suit, and Battle Standard is a battle res, and we'll get them back up. So that's basically it. Additionally, it gives Fury and Might to your party. If you're in a truly bad pug, like I was describing earlier, the type of bad pug where you have to carry the whole party, Battle Standard is actually probably better than Signet of Rage, just because this buffs the whole party, and it will turn guys with kind of bad DPS into at least having something going on. So I would consider Battle Standard in a group like that. So that is basically it as far as the warrior build and skills go. Does anyone have any questions about warrior before I go? I'll try to catch up. Why do you have the moot but have sword offhand skill? Because right now I have the bolt. I also have the moot. Rune asks, I love this build. I love what the build goes. What would you do? Warrior, would you give up the 15 in discipline and go? Actually, I had this question. Someone asked me earlier. Someone asked me earlier. He goes, look, I love Greatsword. Greatsword is my deal. I love Greatsword, and I want to play Greatsword, but I also don't want to be a lich. So I said, okay, I will make a new build for you. You have to be aware that this build is not the best build money can buy. It's not the most efficient build. But this is the build that I would run if I couldn't possibly give up Greatsword, and I wanted to be helpful to my party. Flashing power, oh god. So, here you go. This is a Greatsword camping build all day. This is a build that you run if you don't want to give up Greatsword, but you also want to run Empower Allies. It's not, like, period point blank. Actually, you don't want to run that. Go for the super awesome Deep Strike. Sorry, my bad. I'll show those traits again. If you are in love with Greatsword, but you also realize the benefit that Empower Allies gives, this is what you want to do. You just want to be camping your Greatsword and using Empower Allies. Like I said, the Axe version of this is better for DPS. But if you love Greatsword but you don't want to be selfish, this is the way to go. So let me go back to the rest of the chat. Eternal Deuces asks, what is the optimal number of warriors in a group? 1 is the optimal number of warriors. The reason being, 1 warrior can carry both banners and be fairly comfortable with that. However, it's not so fun to be what is commonly referred to as the banner bitch, like I currently am set up for. Banner bitch is not the funnest role in the game. It's nice to be able to bring your signet. So I think in a casual run, I like 2 warriors in a group. 1 warrior takes each banner, 1 warrior takes EA, 1 goes DPS, and it seems okay. It's not obviously not the most optimal, but I think it's most comfortable and smoothest. Is it normal for people to put battle standards down before a fight? Yeah, like I said, if you feel you're gonna have to carry people, you can put battle standard before the fight because the DPS is good. If you feel like it's a type of fight where people just need DPS and they don't need to be rezzed, sure, just drop your battle standard before the fight. If you are worried that people are going to die, then obviously save it for the res. If you think people are going to die, save it for the res. But if you think people just need DPS, yeah, battle standard all the way. Hexpones, Nike, runes, is it really a big difference between Scholar and Strength? Yeah, honestly, if you're just going for all-out max DPS, Scholar is better than Strength by about 5-6%, something like that. So it is a big difference. However, with, like I said, with Strength runes, when you're in a solo situation and you have to stack your own might, the difference between 8 stacks and 25 stack, or the difference between 11 stacks and 25 stacks is worth more than the Scholar runes. So when you're in a solo situation or a really bad pug, yes, Strength is definitely worth it. When you're in a group and you're buffing each other and you're getting the right numbers, then Scholar is definitely the way to go. Is shield viable in PvE? Unfortunately not. I have a shield with energy on it. It's not viable. The reason why, shield takes away your dual wielding bonus. Shield takes away your dual wield agility. So shield kind of nerfs you from a DPS perspective, and sword is better. The shield block is, let's just check it out. The shield block is a 3-second block on a 30-second cooldown. The sword block, a 2-second block, I believe, on a 15-second cooldown. So you just get way more blocks with the sword. And the sword has a damaging attack. I just think it's better. There's really no uptime on the shield that makes it worth. Lissa runes, yeah, they're kind of bad. They got nerfed pretty hard. What is the DPS loss with the empowered allies Greatsword build versus Axe? I'd say it's somewhere around probably 5 to 10%. 10% if your party stacks might perfectly. If you're in an organized group that stacks might, then it's probably about 10%. If you're in a group that doesn't stack might so well, it's probably closer to 5. Can the new Grandmaster Tactics trait be used? Yes. Phalanx Strength can be used with Strength runes to keep, and Greatsword to keep might on your party. Is it better than anything else? No. To be quite honest, it is terrible that you have. If it was where Empowered Allies is, then you have a conversation. If it was in Tactics number 2, then you have a conversation. If it's in Tactics 30, it's terrible. It ruins your DPS to take that. It seems okay in PvE though, or PvP I should say. If you're in a bad pug, so if you're in a bad pug, yeah, EA is really good. And if you're in a bad pug, the 30-25 build for buffing yourself is really good. But if you're in a truly bad pug, going 30 into Tactics isn't going to save them. It's going to nerf your own DPS too much. Fire Warrior mentions, yes, when you have the rip, the impale and rip, what you're going to want, it lasts for 4 seconds. The auto attack chain lasts 3.2. So what you're going to do is impale, auto attack chain, and then rip. And that will maximize your DPS because it'll take some torment ticks in time. Equazi asks, how much DPS do you lose if you have the Xerxin split in armor compared to full Zerk? All else being equal, you lose like 1%. However, you can fix that. So right now, you see I have the versatile precise infusions. I have it in everything. It gives me a total of 70 precision, which gives me 3% chance to crit. If you have if you have 3 pieces of assassin's armor, you can use mighty infusions instead, and you'll be in the exact same place I am. Additionally, you see right now I have Signet of Fury. If you have the 3 pieces of assassins, you can switch for Signet of Might, and we'll be in roughly the same place. Also, I typically will use curry butternut squash soup as my main DPS food. If you have the 3 pieces of assassins, you should use sweet and spicy butternut. It's just a trade-off. Since you're trading a little bit of precision, or you're trading a little bit of power away in your armor, and I'm getting for extra precision, and I'm getting my precision from the food, you should get your power from the food. So it's 10 of one, 10 of the other. It works out. One thing I wanted to mention about consumables is that these plates of truffle steak are amazing. It used to be that there was no argument that sweet and spicy butternut squash soup was the best DPS food in the game. It wasn't even close to anything besides obviously seaweed salad, but not counting seaweed salad, which is like a bizarre food. The sweet and spicy butternut used to be A+ #1. The truffle steak is now tied with sweet and spicy butternut squash soup. Truffle steak is right up there. So what are these on the trading post right now? Sweet and spicy butternut, 65 silver each. Good gosh. What are truffle steaks up to? Whatever, load. Okay, 12 silver. So these do almost identical DPS. And these are 1/5 of the price. So, truffle steaks, A+ #1, get them. They are good. They are the food that you want to be all about. Zelendal asks, Warhorn and Fractals. Yeah, Wethospu made a good comment about that. I do not want people to get the impression that you should camp Warhorn and Fractals. Basically, the way Warhorn works is you're going to use it for call to arms to give weakness. You don't need this in boss fights, I should mention first. When you're fighting a boss in Fractals, you want offhand sword for the block. You're fighting trash mobs. Let's say we're at the Dredge Fractal and we're all at the Clown Car, and I'm out of combat. Okay, someone goes and aggroes, the Dredge are coming around the Clown Car. As soon as the Dredge come near me, bam, I call to arms, and I switch to mace. The reason why is when you're on your Warhorn, you lose dual wielding and you lose dual wield agility. You cannot take that kind of nerf to your DPS. It's not worth the weakness. So when you get to a fight where you want to put weakness, the Dredge Clown Car is a good example. The Ascalonian mobs in the Ascalon Fractal that hit really hard, like those warriors and the mages, they are badass, and you want to put weakness on them. So you will never just use call to arms and just keep attacking with your Warhorn. You will start the fight with a quick burst, and then switch to mace, and then do your attacking with mace. So you get the additional 15% DPS. Is Axe Sword better than Axe Mace? No. They are complementary. Ideally, you're going to use both. Certain things are better. Against bosses, the block from the riposte is clutch. It is way handy. Whereas the Tremor isn't so good. Against trash mobs, however, Tremor is amazing. Crushing Blow is good. On my YouTube, I have my warrior guide, and at the end of the guide, I go over DPS rotations. So briefly, I'll go over it here. Start out every fight with Crushing Blow and Cyclone Axe so that you stack them up. You're going to switch to your sword, impale the guy, do an auto attack chain, and then come back and rip out the impale for big damage. Then do a Cyclone Axe and then another auto attack chain, and then switch back, and guess what? Crushing Blow will be off. And you just repeat that cycle, and bam, you are doing max DPS. Wraith is asking about Ellie stuff. I will have highlights of this and upload it to YouTube and highlight it here on my Twitch, so you can go back and watch the Ellie stuff and see what I said about why Blasting Staff was better. Yes, steak and asparagus. I keep these in my inventory. They are the cheap version of truffle steak. They are almost as good. It's just a cheap, generic crap food when you're open worlding or doing ultra casual dungeon runs and you don't want to use your expensive food. I mean, look, I think these are like in the coppers each. Or, never mind, they're silver. Yeah, they're dirt cheap. Just use them. Anywhere you can find PvP stuff for warriors. I believe that Jebro, who is a shoutcaster, is a well-known PvP guy. He has good build guides on his YouTube. I don't know the exact link. Additionally, I have some PvP guides on my YouTube. They're a little out of date. I will probably update them since the patch happened. I don't claim to be anything special in PvP, but I have a pretty good idea of what's going on as far as the warriors go in PvP. Yeah, you can check out my YouTube for... having the ascended axe and mace affect your rotation for your auto attack? Only insofar as the extra power and precision and ferocity matters. Not for the damage of the weapon itself, but for the few extra stats you get. Yeah, it helps. But okay, guys, I have gone on. It has now been about 2.5 hours of talking, and I'm getting hoarse, and I have to go to bed. But I appreciate you guys watching my stream. I'm gonna highlight this stuff and upload it. I will add it to the Reddit thread, and I will put it on my YouTube. So I appreciate you guys again for watching. Follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitch, and check it out. I appreciate it again, and thank you guys for all tuning in. Have a great night.